you don't know that it works. There could be a proposal, a state model that provides peace to the region.
I mean, again, if we think that the anti-Zionist Jewish positions are organic and authentic in some way, right? Because they're coming out of the real lived conversation, then the two-state solution is also an authentic position of Zionism. It might be wrong, it might be a misguided strategy, right? But it doesn't disqualify you from being a Zionist.
Right.
I mean, I was friends with Guy. We disagreed on most of these issues. He's clearly a Zionist. He wants the best for the state of Israel. The worst he is wrong. But the opposition to a two-state solution is two states will create the solution. Very few Israelis are against a true solution that involves two states.
I don't know what that's supposed to mean.
It's very simple. The reason why people are against a two-state solution is because it won't be a solution. The solution part is the problem. So there was a leftist movement which pretty much died to say...
You're presuming the definition of a two-state solution.
The slogan two-state solution was by the political left in Israel, which is not the same left that we have here, and their ideology was, if we create a state, that will be the solution. If you speak to there are some Dati Lumi.
I want to interrupt you for a second. I don't disagree with you that the two-state solution has a specific marketing and branding, and yes, you may be right that an iteration of it was that two states is the solution, but I'm going to stop you right here and say that when people support a two-state solution, they are not necessarily supporting that two-state solution.
That's true.
That's literally the distinction I was trying to make. So there is a group in Israel called Dati Lumi that will not cede any land to the Palestinians. But the vast majority of right-wing Israelis, if there was a solution, would be fully happy with giving up land, or maybe not happy, but willing to give up land if it creates a solution. So again, you can be two-state solution and be very
that's just a veil, right? With Gaza and Hamas, it's clear that a two-state solution with a group of people that wants to destroy Israel is not a solution.
Well, Mark, you're making my point. You're saying it's not a solution. You're saying it failed. You're right. But if it would succeed, you can't call those people not Zionists. So I could say about the Democrat Party, if you make a single-payer health care, that's bad for the country. But you cannot say they're not American, they're not patriotic. You could just say they're wrong.
No, right. But hypothetically, that works. But now, it's not hypothetical anymore. We see what happens. They're firing rockets. They're killing people. You have to be blind.
So they're wrong after being proven they're wrong. Again, that's all you get to. They're wrong after being proven they're wrong. I agree. But it's still not an anti-position. It's just an incorrect position. Now, there are those that you can say, I don't know Jewish ones, that are nefariously trying to undermine and coming up with solutions that they want to fail. I mean, that's a massive accusation that I don't know how you could make against anyone that I've spoken to.
Hey, wait, guys, I posted in the chat, I wrote an article about Trump being called a Nazi. And my opinion on that, and it's going a little viral, and I'm still a candidate for office, so it's getting some attention. I'm wondering if you guys think I made a mistake, or what you think.
Just, do you know what advice would I give you?
For mayor.
You know what advice I have for you, Mark?
What?
Get yourself a better microphone, because this is horrible.
What you do about that?
I don't know what you're doing.
You can't get your message out if no one can hear you.
It sounds very, it has static, a lot of static.
Yeah, I don't know what.
Is it a wired mic or a wireless one?
No, it's my phone.
Yeah, but I do think that it's naive to the point of stupidity to think that the solution will not involve a recognition of the Palestinians and how they organize themselves under a sovereign territory under their own control with the ability to present their own version of events. I don't think that this ends without that. They have to change the way they see events. That's fine. That's what war is for. But the idea that they are going to remain in this stateless state, some capacity, they will have political representation somewhere. Jordan, Egypt, Palestine. It must happen. And you're naive if you think it's not going to.
Exactly. It's also an interesting.
What about
What about? No one can hear you. No one can hear you. It's also a kind of irony that's said, right? That like we who had been stateless for so long, right, organized ourselves, made infrastructure, made systems, right, and so again, for a Zionist position to be right, a Zionist position is we understand statelessness, right, and so we understand their statelessness.
Correct.
Right.
Mark, can you connect your phone to an external?
We also happen to know how to build states in that very particular region. We have a track record.
But
right.
here's
That's right.
Yeah, but I actually agree with that, and I had this conversation with Mark, and he ended up agreeing with me because you end up in a matrix of conclusions, and that's the only landing point. But in that idea, the way this state is created makes a colossal difference in the outcome. So like, that's why the two-state solution, the problem is they put the solution before the second state. That's why I framed it that way. Just, there will be something that the Palestinians will do. But if we create it wrong, like we did in Gaza, it will be major ramifications.
I still say they should take like half of Jordan.
What? Leave the Jordans alone.
Jordan is made up of Palestinians.
I know,
Palestinian
but
land.
they also
It is
have a
Palestine.
lot of Christian Palestinians, so leave them alone, dude.
Let them be Christian.
Yeah, Jordan has, you guys have had a good relationship with Jordan and Egypt and others right now, and you're collaborating. Like, leave them alone.
I think we
Don't
have to realize
start
how
shit.
the quote-unquote good relationships were made between those people.
I want to hear Simon, another Simon, because he's been texting something in the chat, and I want to hear his opinion because he seems not to be in agreement with what you guys are discussing.
Well, for me, it's thank you anyway for asking my opinion. For me, under international law, which has to do, a country, a state exists, comes to exist through population exercising their right of self-determination. Okay, and that is quite a fundamental thing. So for me, as I see it, as an outsider, perhaps, is that you've got the population, and this is not just like having an election, to choose which side you want as a party to govern. It's that they both want the right self-determination, both Palestinians and the Jewish people, and I cannot for 1 minute think of any other solution. Now, how you get there is obviously the devil's in the detail, and that's too far. But
Precisely.
I can't. Yeah, so I agree with that. But I think one statement we can all make surely is that both sides need the right of self-determination.
So, Simon.
But
Yeah.
accept that.
Because when
Yeah.
I'm finished,
So, oh,
Sorry, so I have to. Do you not agree with that? But that has to happen.
it's not that I agree. I agree, Michael. Hold on one second. So I agree with it in spirit. Here's the details that complicate this whole situation. Number one, Palestinians are not a real nationality or ethnicity. They're a made-up ethnicity. Either most of them have their roots either in Egypt or in Jordan. And when you talk about those international laws that talk about self-determination, they have to do with a nationality or ethnicity not having any place to go. With the Jews, that was exactly the case, all through 20th century and especially after World War II, because they didn't have a state that they could go to. So they had to, have some sort of physical representation of their will to exist. Now, Palestinians, or what we call Palestinians. They have plenty of states they could exist in. They could, they could be part of Jordan. They could be part of Egypt. The problem is those people. They're, their brothers and sisters.
They don't want them.
They don't want them exactly for unbeknownst reason. Wink, wink, knock, knock.
They always start shit.
You know why they don't
so,
want them? They don't want them
of course,
to deter the existence of the state of Israel.
Yes, of course. Now, Michael, I wanted to pose something to you in the spirit of what I was saying. How do you feel about that population getting absorbed by those two entities?
Jordan and Egypt.
Yes.
They don't want it either.
I would mostly be fine with it, especially if they were granted, like, a specialty status as, like, a state member of a federation kind of thing, like parity to Jordan or Egypt. I'd be fine with that. Gaza as, like, just an annex of Egypt, historically accurate. Like, I'd be fine with that. But I'm just saying, the idea of, like, two states is not a solution. The thing I wanted to deter from that is that, like, the problem is their lack of political representation. And that, like, the Israelis are not letting them in. They are not a part of Israel. That's very clear. They don't want it. Israel doesn't want them. Okay? So then the problem is, who is representing their political interests other than Hamas? In honesty. Can you say there's, like, a single person that's looking out for them more than Hamas? You can't. And that's why I'm saying the idea of removing their capacity to communicate at a state level to the world about their situation and how to, like, negotiate deals to improve their situation, that's insane. Obviously, they can't be destructive with this power of statehood, and that's why they're in this position. But you can't keep it away from them, especially in this, like, world of communication. Maybe if no one knew what you were doing, you could pull off something. But no, they need representation.
So would you make them like an Egyptian Puerto Rico?
Yeah. I'd make it like a hybrid deal with America and Egypt, and, like, make part of all the benefits from the Suez Canal, send it over to Gaza. Why? It's just a toll or a
Because
tax.
it's clear that they are not capable of restraining themselves in terms of, like,
Yes, I know.
So they need to not have. Hold on. They need to be provided with defense. They need to be provided with defense. They need to be provided with infrastructure, with services like healthcare, education, all of that kind of stuff.
Stop killing humans.
Correct, but they should be controlled.
Right.
They're like a little child. Yeah.
Right, and who do we leave as, like, the master on the leash of these people that can't stop
Israel
killing other
doesn't
people?
want that
We leave the
responsibility.
Jews in charge. That's what we'll do.
Yeah, but I mean, like, that would create kind of like this narrative of repression or oppression or whatever. I don't think that they want Jews to control territory. So who else would be
horrible things and get Israel blamed for whatever reprisal?
So who else would be a good daddy for them?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Egypt is a nice angle. Egypt and America and the Suez Canal, that can grab international interest. And then, Gaza will have its own weight, but, like, in a different sphere of international communication. We don't need to worry about the Suez Canal so long as there are some, exceptions for Israel because of that war that started that other time. They tried to block the Suez Canal from Israel.
I want to push back a little bit, Isam, though, like, they're not capable bit. I think that's kind of, like, a little bit the racism of low expectations. I'd prefer to actually.
They're not the race, Khaled.
No, you understand what I mean. It's the bigotry.
They have demonstrated that their ideology
Let me finish that thought. Thank you. I prefer to think of them as exceptionally capable, right? Because it makes their failures even worse. If they're not capable and they fail, then, well, they weren't capable in the first place. But if they are capable and they decide to do other things, right?
They are capable of forming a state that is not focused on killing humans. However,
Absolutely.
However, modern state expectations rely upon a certain acculturation of citizenship. People from different parts of the world, Mexico, New York, California, Idaho, Canada, Africa, South Africa, Zimbabwe, Congo, there are different modes of civilian citizenship. And the acculturation necessary for like certain levels of statecraft is highly classist in terms of like the
for sure.
And
But what you're saying,
it's fair to say to some degree they are not accustomed to the type of state we are expecting them to engage in.
so that's just a political culture legacy question. That's not a capacity question, right?
It's about capacity over time. It would take a couple
Over time. That's what I'm saying.
lifetimes to re-educate and acculturate people to a new style of citizenship. You understand?
So that's what I'm saying. That's the same.
Not capable in their lives.
Right. But that's like a similar. That's a similar thing.
They're dumb. It just means that they are not. They don't have they haven't acquired the capabilities to deal with other states at the same level.
That's fine. So long as we're not saying that like intrinsically. Whatever. I won't say that like intrinsically they have less capacity. They just don't come from a political culture.
Brainwash.
No. Agreed. And exactly, that's what happened. That's very similar to the political cultures that Mizrahi came from that weren't Western, and they had to figure out how to be quasi-Western in the Western society, right? And that took a generation or two.
And they
same idea.
Jewish brothers, and they were able to figure it out.
Same idea. Right? So again, like the parallels here between stateless, whatever you want to call them, right, and the methods in which Zionism created institutions, created infrastructures, right? These are models. These can be models for Palestinians those interested in Palestinian statehood to promote, right? Build the infrastructure, and then eventually it'll be like, oh yeah, and you have this society that's like peace-loving and wants to coexist. Oh, great! And you have police. Great. Sounds like a could be a productive state.
Can I just make a point?
Just give all of them dual citizenship and watch their militancy disappear. Yeah.
Go ahead, Simon.
Yeah, I just wanted to, and I don't know if it's a direct comparison, but obviously in the UK, in Northern Ireland, we obviously had effectively a civil war between Catholics and Protestants, and
You're a northerner?
in Northern Ireland, that was murder on the streets, From the 70s it started, because, the Catholics, there was a lot of anti-Catholic sentiment, and they didn't have the same rights in society in terms of jobs and stuff like that. Anyway, then it was, nobody in a million years thought that was ever going to be solvable, because it was such an entrenched, and I'm not saying it's a direct comparison, but it was such an entrenched society, one against Protestant versus Catholics, the British Army on the streets. And what happened was the solution ended up being, put your guns down and we'll legitimise you politically. Sinn Féin could therefore become not a terrorist organisation, but a political party representing the Catholics in the society. And that was the late 90s. And here we are, 2025, and the party that is actually the ruling, governing party in Northern Ireland is Sinn Féin. So that is a 25, 30-year transformation from what was murder, terrorism, bombs, in London, bombs, and I can't say that I'm saying it's a direct comparison, but you legitimize them. All the terrorists were basically allowed out of jail, on both sides, the Protestant and the Catholics, and there was a peace solution put in place, and they had to down their weapons and become a legitimate political entity representing their people. I have to say, that was unbelievable, at the time it was achieved, and I don't know whether that would be even possible but that surely has got to be part of the process of the self-determination, in my uneducated opinion.
Simon, have you ever read Hamas Charter?
No, but I've seen people murdered on the streets of Northern Ireland. So whether there is a charter or not a charter, the effect was the same. We're going to kill police, we're going to kill Protestants, we're going to kill Catholics.
Women waiting at bus stops.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. The Omar bomb in a shopping mall, yeah, boom. And those, they had to be, yes, absolutely exactly the same. Exactly the same.
The history with the Jews and the Palestinians is much shorter than the history of Ireland and England.
No, that's not true. That's actually not true.
Billy, how far back do you think the history of Ireland and England goes?
Well, it's
Same as Jews and Palestinians. Yeah.
The same as Jews and Palestinians?
Yeah, from the Roman era, right? Yeah.
Oh, you think that these guys are related to the Plishtim?
But do you think the length of time when it comes down to people being murdered, yeah, and it would warfare
Yeah,
on
do you think the length of time matters? Because I think people are dumb and related to other people who are dangerous, and I think that it takes a few generations for people to learn the error of murder.
Read history makes it. Palestinians and Jews have known each other the same time as Irish and English, or Protestants and Catholics, but probably more than that. Yeah.
What were the
When did Catholic Protestant split happen? When did Catholic Protestant split happen? 500 years back.
Do you understand my question?
I understood your question. That is the
Okay,
answer.
answer.
Catholic Protestant, split happened 500 years back or 600 years back. Palestinians and Jews have known each other.
Here's the question. You said you heard it. Could you repeat the question?
Okay, repeat
You
it.
actually heard the question?
Oh yeah, repeat, go ahead.
Okay, the question was, you said the Palestinians knew each other as long, with the Jews, as long as the Irish knew the English. My question was roughly the 1200s. What was the Palestinian perspective on the Jewish community in the 1200s?
They exist. What is the perspective? Yeah.
I'm asking, what did they do? You said you knew that there was a coherent Palestinian community that had like an internal tradition of the Jews that were living in Israel in the 1200s. I'm asking, what was that perspective?
The perspective is that they saw the Jews exist. They lived with the Jews. Yeah, that is the perspective.
And who shared this view? Like, that's just kind of saying there were people there that knew there were Jews around.
Buddy, they've been living together for the past, however long they existed. Yeah.
The same people?
The Jews have continuous existence in Palestine for last 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 years. Should I teach history of Jews to you? Seriously.
Say what?
Should I teach you the history of Jews to you in Palestine? Like,
No,
I don't think that is
the
the
history of Palestinians that didn't exist until 1967.
Are you saying that Palestinians did not exist in the 1200s?
That's
Is that your point?
No,
Then you should have said that point. You should have made that stupid point.
They did not exist until 20th century, and they were manufactured by
That's not true.
Mufti of Hitler. That is.
No, that's also not true. Yeah.
Yes, it is true.
Okay, so what distinctive
So the
Palestinian
Palestinian word, right, who named
empire
it?
had an opinion?
Roman Empire.
The people who were
You have,
called
like, a
Palestinians
governor
in
of
Bible
Jerusalem?
are not of the same origin ethnically, geographically, or genetically. The
Yeah, you
people
want to
who
look at
own
the
this-
odds.
Genetically, they share the same ancestry. Yeah. Semitic people.
Also,
So,
the
they
odds
want
of the people that
There are not Semitic people, you idiot. They speak Arabic, right? Arab language is a Semitic language. Yeah.
Oh my god. Okay,
Am
so
I right or wrong?
I don't think
They are not. It's not an Indian language. Arabic is not an Indian language.
I did an experiment yesterday.
Like that, am I right about this at least?
So I did an
About
experiment yesterday, and when we don't have retards on stage, the conversation is more pleasant. So I'm sorry, but I don't think we're going anywhere with our son to the audience except the interactive chat.
Sorry. But yes, the history with Ireland and England goes back through a few different monarchies. and then the colonization project of Northern Ireland, and then the political and religious divisions. You could go back millennia, but I would really just go back centuries to when King Henry broke from the church. So, yeah, it's an old and complicated fight, and it's not just like on the simple headlines of it. It's more just the different cultures that develop when you have those many headlines for 400 years. The Israelis and the Palestinians is a very modern issue. It's 100 years old. It's not as old, and that's what I'm saying. England and Ireland, it took a while for them to calm down, even with like all of the modern sensibilities of the 20th century in the Troubles. It took way too long, and it was insane, and it was stupid, and people didn't even understand what was happening. And I'm saying that it takes generational wisdom to learn that murder is bad, and I don't know how long it'll take the Palestinians to learn that.
Did you think it should, when you said that, because it was like Palestinian, so that's a one-sided change?
Yeah, I think the Jews understand that murder is bad. I think it's happened to enough of them. I think that they made an army in order to prevent murders from happening. I think they know that murder is bad, and I think the Palestinians have not yet learned that fact.
Yeah, okay. I can see that.
Well, they do have an ideology and a framework that we try to understand from our own Western principles perspective, which doesn't work, right? I mean, Simon, these are guys that, for bad or right, I don't know, like they believe, well, they have certain beliefs. First of all, they're being brainwashed, you know, since they are very little kids, they are being desensitized against killing Jews. So that when they grow up, I mean, for them it's in their nature. They see as killing Jews as almost like a virtuous thing, you know. And on top of that, it is a religion, it is an ideology that gives you a prize when you die in war, right? So you cannot threaten a Muslim, or especially an extreme or a fundamentalist, with death, because you're actually taking them to heaven, you know. So when you are dealing with a complete opposite ideology and a complete opposite culture, it's very difficult to find some common ground and some common principles. I don't know, it's just my bias, but it's a different culture, and you're seeing it in your country, in the United Kingdom. Today, you have a clash of two completely different cultures that cannot coexist.
I would say that the troubles in Ireland started off with the IRA, which is the Irish Republican Army. Yeah, so they were trying to fight for a united Ireland. That concept has completely gone by. That's not their agenda. In fact, so they just wanted to be legitimised and have, as it's transpired, say in the government of Northern Ireland, which they didn't have before. So, obviously, yeah, I see that that's a difference, but it's worked out. I've never seen.
And there's still technically Tehil. There's a second state. There is a border between the two, even though they've gotten control of both, because they acknowledge that there is a legitimate difference between the two states.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, I did say that. I brought it up not with any massive degree of confidence that I was doing a fair analogy, to be honest. Yeah. It was more that, well, there was a big change from total violence, anarchy, death of civilians, to a legitimised political process that included everybody. That did happen. But it doesn't mean it's the same. I get that.
Yeah, you have a different case in Ireland. Even if it was Protestants against like Catholics and there were political differences, but
the background is still the same. You know, it's Christian, a Christian background, and you have more things in common than you have different. I think it's not like Gaza and Israel. And by the way, you said in one of your comments,
and Ireland is very complicated.
yeah. But also you said in one of your comments, if I recall correctly, you said something like, yeah, they're both two groups of people living in the same land that they call Israel. I think that's incorrect. I don't think Gaza, the Gazans consider Gaza part of Israel.
Yeah, that's just them arguing with history. It's a weird Muslim trait. They'll get over it eventually.
Yeah. Anyway, the Indian killed the room.
Like, you know, if we were to completely dismantle the state of Israel and wipe all the Jews out from the face of the earth, the history records of America and the world would still read, this is where Israel was. They just want to, like, ignore facts, which is dumb. It weakens their position, but they're a young culture. And they apparently haven't learned murder is bad. Huge problem, right? In their instructions, somehow, the murder is bad across the board didn't quite stick.
Yeah. So one thing I think is gonna happen, like, so right now, Israel is focused on Iran, right? So are they still focusing on Gaza at the same time, Daniel? And then
Syria,
Yeah, they're stretched thin.
all over the place, and well, other places. Yes.
Lebanon and Syria and Yemen.
Among others. But yeah, we are all over.
And the citizenship is stretched thin. They're going in and out of bunkers every 5 minutes.
Yeah, this is so stressful.
It's exhausting.
It must be. I mean, it must be horrible. And especially right now, also with the heat, I mean, I guess the bunkers are not like luxury accommodations, right? I mean, like you're underground and you're boiling down there.
Yes, they have not yet developed the mountain fortress of Switzerland.
Yeah, just yesterday I was looking at a video, and it said that Switzerland is the only country in the world capable of surviving a nuclear war or something like that. And it was saying that we have here 400,000 bunkers capable of hosting the full capacity, you know, of the full citizenry or whatever residents. You know, 100% of them.
There's actually like a line in the Torah, and there's a Jewish theology built up around the fact that Israel is aware that it is not the most secure region in the world. It comments on like, yeah, over in Egypt you've got that Nile, Switzerland you've got those mountains. Over here, well, you know, like the faithful, we rely upon the one true God.
And really strong faith. Yeah.
Takes faith to live there.
Here there are like cities on the ground, you know, like there are hospitals and coffee shops and everything. And yeah, they have beds, they have of course toilets, they have everything. There is a whole network of bunkers, you know, underneath, and they are communicated also through the Alps, through the mountains.
Yeah.
Yeah, but who wants to be Swiss? But they're boring as fuck.
Well, the Swiss aren't really a people. They're just a conglomeration of the different people on mountains that realized they couldn't be conquered.
It's a confederation, yeah. Well, I live in Switzerland. I don't get bored here.
Oh, sorry. I didn't realise that. I wouldn't have insulted you. So,
I don't care. I'm not Swiss. I live in Switzerland.
They're not so much like a united people as just safe up there in the mountain.
Yeah.
They have more referendums to decide their laws than any other country.
Yeah, because it's a direct democracy.
Yes.
So everything is asked to the population.
Yeah, but you don't have any issues. I mean, if you've got no issues, hey, who cares? Let's have a referendum.
Well, we pass referendums here asking like we should dehorn the cows or not. I mean, those are important issues.
What should we do with the Nazi gold? Let's have a referendum. Yeah, I mean.
No, I'm telling you, the horns of the cows are more important.
Yeah, but as well as the better.
Important for what? For you guys to continue just.
Well, we have the best milk in the world here, the best cheese in the world, so it's important.
Value neutrality as like a good for humanity.
You don't have the best cheese. You have the blandest cheese. Yeah.
Yeah, well, Switzerland is a fort, and
You've got the smallest navy.
Mixed, as you were saying, you guys should learn better.
No, you're right. We just need our mountain bunkers.
Yeah. Oh my God, this guy Aaron, Andre, and Daniel. If you want to bring him up, you have to do it. I can't anymore because I already brought him up 2 times. But if he doesn't behave, he's not only going to be thrown down to the audience, but out of the room.
Oh, he was speaking on my behalf. Yeah.
Yeah, but he was just like yelling. It's annoying.
What do you think you sound?
Well, it's my room. If you don't like to hear me yell, you can leave.
You're moving.
Yeah, that's right. Anyway. I am excited you can bring him up. I don't know. He's going crazy with the hand raise. And he's crying in the chat. Like a little Indian bitch. Yeah, I'm so, not sad, but I'm annoyed that this guy Maximilian left the room. I really wanted to hear what he had to say about being a non-Zionist Jew.
Well, that guy is, I think, relatively new to Clubhouse. I've heard him get triggered before, so I didn't see what happened, but I heard you say Maximilian. I wish he had stayed in the room, and I'm not surprised that Maximilian left.
Were you listening to a room from John's room?
No, I literally just came in, and I heard you say, I wish Maximilian had stayed. I already know who you're referring to. I've had interactions with him before, and I think, respectfully, to Maximilian, I think he might be relatively new to Clubhouse because I've heard him he gets really triggered easily.
He sounds like you in the early days.
Exactly. It takes one to know one. It takes one to know one.
What else was common folks? And what?
I'm still known to have an emotional freak out, crash out, but in season 1 of Clubhouse 3 or 4 years ago, it happened a lot more.
Oh yeah, we've all been down that road. Yeah, we've all been there. Yeah. I've been thrown out of 2 rooms. I've not been thrown out of anywhere for years. Yeah.
It's like any community. It takes a while to get to know the
Exactly. You got to get to know the culture of Clubhouse and how things work here.
Because a lot of these people already know each other, right? So there's
right.
And norms and customs, weird.
You weren't there, McZed, but I had a really interesting experience the other day. I mean, I'm 37, but I have a friend of mine who's 19. Oh, my phone's fucked up.
No, he was okay.
Holding on.
Go on, my friend. You are doing fine.
You said his phone messed up.
Is it muting every time I'm talking? Is it randomly?
Fine.
No.
Okay, so I was just going to tell you a very short anecdote that I invited a 19-year-old friend of mine who I met at the jiu-jitsu gym, and I was talking with him about Israel, and I invited him onto Clubhouse to have a chat. And he was really enjoying the app. We had a good conversation. Mr. Anderson came in.
Oh my God.
It was like, I was talking with him about Israel-Palestine. This is my friend, a 19-year...
Clubhouse?
No.
A 19-year-old Jew to speak with Mr.
No, he's not a Jew. He's Iranian. He's Iranian. And he was saying a lot of anti-Semitic things. He's only 19, and he's a good guy.
That's why he got along with Mr. Anderson.
And then Mr. Anderson comes in. I'm like, listen, you're going to love my friend Tim. He hates Jews. And Mr. Anderson was like more extreme even than my 19-year-old friend thought was possible. But it was funny, Mixed, because my 19-year-old friend, although he really enjoyed his Clubhouse experience, and although he contributed to the discussion very well, he got triggered like so quickly. He was only on there for like 8 minutes, and then he got triggered, and he was like, "I gotta go. I'm sorry." It's like
What?
I quit after 8.
he got triggered while listening to Rohan.
Oh yeah, well, but that's, I mean, Rohan can trigger people.
I thought Rohan was being reasonable, but he was kind of he was being too calm for my friend Puya. Puya was like, let's have a heated debate, and then Rohan came in and he was like, okay, listen to me. I'd like to break it, you know. He's like, you have to listen to people who you disagree with. You have to listen to Rohan droning on, and you have to.
But there's ways to play it.
Yeah, there's ways to play it. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah, don't bring these kind of people to Clubhouse. I brought my sister like 3 years ago, and probably it was at the beginning when I was doing all the COVID rooms, you know, the massive rooms we had. And I brought her here so that she would listen to the doctors we had. I think she still has got her profile.
It's funny because a lot of people like.
Yeah, my sister hated it. I'm actually thankful she hated it.
It's hilarious.
Hello.
Hello.
La la la. No, it's funny because like Anna was there, concerned, addicted. But then I had to realize, like, not everybody gets addicted to Clubhouse. Like, it's you're a respectable man, a father with a family and a job. I don't see you on Clubhouse every day, 1776. I'm happy when I see you.
A lot of fathers with
You know?
that I don't know what they're avoiding, but they spend a shitload of time on Clubhouse.
What I find funniest about the black spaces is that when I go into them and I start having an intelligent conversation with them, they all of a sudden, when they figure out I'm white, they dismiss me.
Hey, this nigga white! Hey, are you white?
You don't have to yell.
I'm totally white.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's freaking hilarious.
Smoke
Exactly, don't behave like that.
Smoke
But
alarm.
my friend, how do you account for white people being 70% of all online pedophilia content makers?
Higgity, 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 hoggity.
I think- I don't know. I don't know that statistic.
That I can explain that.
What's
It's not very nice, but you know, if you've ever been to the hood, they don't need any, you know.
Yeah,
content.
maybe it's because the black
You know,
people
how
don't
do
go
we protect our children? And,
Maybe it's because black people
from
don't
white
have any
people.
children left after you abort them all.
But how do we
They
protect our
murder each
children
other
from
in
white
Chicago
people?
and it's just like
70% of all pedophilia.
I don't think there are that many. I don't think there are that many white pedophiles who want to abuse a black baby. I think most of the white pedophiles are going for white
Oh my
babies.
God. Yeah, I think that's true. I think.
Okay, we're going to change the topic. I don't want to get clear. Thank you
So
very
you guys
much.
have preferences in who you like to abuse?
We're going to
I
change
think
the
you
topic.
do.
I don't want to.
I do for sure.
Oh my. I mean, you as a black pedophile, you want to.
Oh my God, Steven! I said we're changing the fucking topic. We are doing something else.
Some people care who they abuse, and some people don't care who they abuse.
Can I tell a short anecdote that will change the topic?
So why would they want to? Yeah.
I have a short anecdote that will change the topic. I wanted to.
The only black space that I sometimes go in Clubhouse is Slide's rooms.
I didn't know he was still around.
Yeah, his rooms are not that big anymore, but he's still around. I like Slide.
Fly from Switzerland, Slide?
No, he's
Slide.
UK.
Slide.
UK.
Oh.
Yeah,
So
he's-
right into the black. The black league?
Yeah, he got. No, he's still here.
Anyway, go ahead with your.
Well, my short
Are
anecdote.
you gonna tell us how you fucked a tranny again?
No.
It's,
No, but it's related to the different. It's related to the Clubhouse map. When you're like English speakers over here, I had a very interesting experience that I don't know if you guys can relate to, or I think you might have been aware of it when it was happening, but it was happening to me, not you. But about 2 years ago, when I had lost a couple accounts, right now I have this account and I have access to. I have a private fake number that I've used to create this account. But back in the day, like 2 years ago, I had this service that would give me a fake number to use Clubhouse. However, the number was shared by other random people on Earth. Random people. And so I would get a phone number, I would log into Clubhouse, and there would already be an account created. And it would be like, in like Cyrillic Russian, or like the name of the account would be in Arabic or like Thai, like some foreign language. And then I would go into my hallway, and the entire hallway was in a foreign language. And it's like, fuck, I like respawned in like the wrong server or something. It was a weird time in my Clubhouse life.
It's funny. I imagine it like as Clubhouse being some kind of metaphor, and you end up like in a world of
You would get like reincarnated as in like a foreign country or something.
Yeah.
Oh, God forbid a foreign country. Right. Well, that'll be all wrong.
You love foreign countries. You're in the UK.
I've got an objection to the fact that you keep talking about speaking English. None of you can speak English. You're very poor in your vocabulary, yeah, and the way that you pronounce things, so I'm sorry, but, there's only one in
That's coming from the person that has a draw. What this man is saying. Yeah, I just did I hear something wrong?
Well, that proves my point.
You sound poor.
How does it prove your point when you sound like you have a dick in your mouth?
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
it sounds like he's got a mouthful
That's
of
possible. It's a fucking huge dick. It can actually go in my mouth.
Oh my god. Jesus Christ. Can we?
All yours.
he threw the kielbasa.
This is not like me. Sorry. I said, yeah.
It's
I got
I'm not the bank.
Bag alert.
I thought it's the bank stuff.
Yes.
whatever.
Yeah, every UK person calls me Liza because they hear it in the bank investment things. It's Liza.
Are you tax-free?
Yeah, I'm always tax-free.
Is every black man secretly homosexual? But this
Well, it seems like the ones in the room are. Daniel will tell you that they are.
But they're secretly bisexual. Maybe that's it. But like,
Daniel
I don't know why it just keeps
Daniel
coming
can
up.
help you find out.
Bisexual is a gateway drug.
Is Daniel gay?
Yes,
No, my husband.
just his husband is.
Issa, how do you feel about all your people being deported out of the United States?
I think it's great, actually. I think they should not be allowed to be illegally in your country. I think that actually having offered the opportunity to get in your country legally has killed many of them, and it puts my people at risk. So yeah, I think that closing the borders is the best thing that can happen to my people. And when you go to my country, you will see a lot of people supporting Trump. In fact, when Kamala Harris went 3 years ago, there were bunches of people waiting for her at the airport saying, Kamala, go home, and wearing Trump hats. And yeah, nobody likes, in my country, the Democrat Party. They have been a huge pain for countries like mine. So yeah, we love Trump. We love what he's doing.
Did you see that video of those cucked white people singing the song, Hey Kamala, Kamala, hey Kamala?
It wasn't even a good song.
Oh man, they ruined it. But yeah, it was. But no, they were just terrible people. Those are just awful people. Right? Yeah, the fucking family. It's like all parasitized. They're like fucking zombies, man. I remember back in like the 80s, 90s watching like Night of the Living Dead, where like the idea of a zombie was like this abstract concept. And then, you know, fast forward 20, 30 years and you have zombies. Like fucking people who are possessed of an ideology. It's just been weird. You guys know what I'm talking about? Like, there's this concept.
I'm not aware of
what you're talking about at all, but I'm listening.
The zombies. Yeah, there was
The Slumpers?
No. Zombies. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah.
Zombies. What do you mean by zombies?
Unfortunately, we can't.
Okay. So there's this concept in theory of mind, philosophy of mind. This guy David Chalmers, he came up with this concept called the P zombie. A P zombie is a philosophical zombie, and from the outside, when you interact with this person, it's essentially an NPC, right? You're interacting with this person, but behind the veil, like there's just a script running. There's no real ratiocination happening. There's no critical thinking. There's nothing. All there is. No, in a monologue.
A shadow into our, like you, it's a window into our conversations the last 2 years.
Yeah, I don't know. There was a time when it was like an abstract thing, and like zombies were, they didn't exist. And now, like, they fucking do, man. They do.
Right. I mean, one example that I can think of is people use words that they don't even know why they're using this word. Like my 19-year-old friend who I referenced earlier when we were having.
Why do you keep referencing his age? It's weird.
Well, because that's the only thing you know about him.
Let him do whatever he wants.
You don't know his name. My friend, his name is
context.
His name is. Yeah, it's nice to know.
But you keep saying, like, if it was a girl, I just totally would get it.
If it was
Were you trying to fuck him? Like,
my point was.
Are you fucking this guy?
Other than
That's what I'm saying. So it seems like he might be.
Well, you're getting turned on by this, Lou. I mean, what is going on?
Wait, he's not a 19-year-old black kid. Black. All right, so my point is that when you talk to these anti-Israel types, they often use a word like they'll say, the Jews are so bloodthirsty. And I think it's interesting that they don't say Israelis are warmongers. They don't say Israelis are warlike. They don't say Israelis are violent. They don't say Israelis, they don't even say Israelis, like sometimes they'll say evil. They won't even say hateful. Like they'll say Israelis are evil and Israelis are bloodthirsty. And I was talking with my friend and I was like, yo, do you know that for thousands of years, people have been saying that Jews literally drink the blood of babies? Like 2,000 years ago, they were saying Jews drink the blood of babies. Do you know that you're invoking a 1,000-year-old racist trope? Do you know that?
Come up with some new material.
And his response was, but Jews are killing babies. And so that's what makes me think. But they do be though. And so the point is, he doesn't even know that he's running a script. He doesn't even know that he's using the word bloodthirsty because he's subconsciously evoking this 1,000-year-old trope, and he's not even aware of the script that he's running in his brain.
Right.
So ignorance is watching the news and when people are exposed to this false narrative and this idealism, their whole lives, and it is quite punctual that you refer to him as a 19-year-old, because this is an epidemic amongst the younger generations who have been just inundated with false information from the internet, and this is just sheer proof that the tactics of hypnotizing the majority of the people is working really well. These people are just hypnotized and they believe everything at face value. They don't investigate it. They don't do any research. They're just, the internet says it, so it must be true.
So then the question then becomes, what is the proper course of action? After you run the 60 IQ, how would you feel if you hadn't eaten breakfast yesterday test on them? And they come back and they're like, but I did eat breakfast yesterday. Then what do you do? All that's left in my tool bag at that point is either violence or just ridicule. Like those are the two, and ridicule is kind of
ridicule is better than violence, personally.
Ridicule is a kind of violence.
Maybe you could shame them into educating themselves.
highly unlikely, but I mean, it's better than violence. I don't agree with violence.
How do you incept awareness? How do you incept intelligence? Okay,
you want to know my honest answer? A really high dosage of LSD. Because you know what? When you take a really high dosage of LSD, you aren't hiding from the truth. And the truth comes barreling at you. Like fucking, you will not be, most people would not be able to handle it.
We're not just going to go around dosing people with
I understand.
We need to figure out how to trigger an endogenous release of like an LSD analog inside their own neurobiology.
Muscle therapy, I don't know, but I mean, it really comes down to like prying open your third eye and understanding that, the exact scientific realm in which we dwell. I mean, we see everything in 3 dimension, that means we're living in the 4th dimension. If we see everything in 4th dimension, that means we're living in the 5th dimension. So if they're seeing everything in 1 dimension, that means they're only living in the 2nd dimension, because you can't see the exact dimension that you're living in. You can only see the opposite or the forward.
What a load of tosh. Yeah.
I never understand the whole. They believe everything that they're told, and then why not tell them something different if that's true?
No, what a load of bollocks. I mean, the reality is, I want to know the truth, okay? And it doesn't help you taking the piss out of people who actually genuinely do want to know the truth and might not know necessarily where to go or what to trust to get that truth. So well done in taking the piss out of people who actually do want to know the truth. Hey, that's really going to achieve a lot. Anyway, carry on.
The question is, do you know if you're actually ever going to know the truth? Because if the answer is no, then why are you obsessed with it?
I'm not know if obsessed is the right word, but what I would say is because it's fucking pretty important, isn't it? Isn't it important to know the truth?
Is it? I don't know. Like, how does that affect really your day-to-day life and the decisions you make as in like how to live a good life with your family and get along with the people you love and make a living and all of this? Does it even make an impact?
Yeah, I do live in the U.S. and I'd have to say that, the majority of people are absolutely content being ignorant and don't want to look into things like, how the King James Bible is even in existence. They don't want to know the history of it. They don't want to know because it would fuck with their own narrative, and they're so stuck on their own narrative of how things are that they don't want to know the truth of the history. And it's very unfortunate, and it's very disheartening as an American that does seek the truth, because that's the way I was raised. I was raised to always question authority, always question the people, always refer back to biblical texts to make sure that your pastor is telling you the truth and not his own damn opinion. And same with the walk of Christ, man. All these people out there saying that they walk with Christ, yet they have scripture in their mouth, but vile in their actions. It's amazing to me the willful ignorance that this quote unquote Christian nation, and mind you, this is not a Christian nation. This is a nation founded on religious freedom. Not any particular religion. You're not mandated to be a Christian to be an American. That's ridiculous. But there's a good majority of people out there that believe that if you're not a Christian, you're not an American. And it's disgraceful as an American to see this happening.
Yeah, well, it is disgraceful. It would be disgraceful in the UK because we're secular societies. Yeah, so the freedom of to worship if you wish is sort of fundamental. Yeah, and so to try and turn it into something else, which is called, our government's got to be based on religion, well, then that's just like the Sharia law. It's just the same concept.
Yeah, that's a sheer sign of oppression. I mean, that's the way oppression has always worked. You know, they use religion and falsified religion on top of that. You know, I mean, I dare anybody to go read the Ethiopian Orthodox Bible, which is the oldest Bible on the freaking planet Earth, and the most complete Bible on the planet Earth, and then go read the King James Bible and tell me how they're relative.
Yeah, right. Well, obviously, it was written in Greek, and then some guy translated it, you know, to English. But that translation.
Well, it was written in Latin originally, and it was the Bible was a book that was only held by the people and people of very high wealth. It wasn't a common book amongst the illiterate of the countries because, well, they couldn't read it in the first place, but much less could they read freaking Latin.
So do you think it was a mistake to have it translated to different languages? Because I know
you gotta look at the context of, like, let's say the King James Bible. You know, right. King James freaking imprisoned his own mother, Mary Queen of Scots, and then beheaded her. He also wrote 3 books on demonology, as well as retranslated the freaking the Bible into English. So, I mean, just that short bit of history, knowing about King James, his nefarious freaking adulteries, his assumed homosexuality, or at least bisexuality, and all these things, just about King James.
I will look into it, yeah. Thank you.
Mary Queen of Scots was beheaded by Queen Elizabeth I. Queen Elizabeth I, she died without any children, which is why then, I think it was James IV or the V of Scotland, he became James I of England.
The reason I'm asking is, like, in the Islamic world, right, they don't encourage translation. They'll say that any translation that's not Arabic will change, the meaning of the text, and therefore it's not really Quran, right? But the problem is most people don't speak Arabic, they are Muslim. And so I thought this was a problem, but now I'm confused. I'm starting to think maybe it was a good thing. What do you guys think?
I think it's a good way to preserve the integrity of any book. That's just any book, because especially when you translate it to English, as somebody pointed out earlier, American English is terrible. It's misrepresented. It's not well translated. And that's part of the difficulties that have fed to this absolutely absurd idealism of Christianity here in the United States, especially because if you'll notice, a lot of these quote unquote Christians, man, they don't embody they don't embody Christ.
The teachings. Yeah, that's why I always thought.
Embody the teachings of Christ, which is peace, love, humility. Shoot. The Bible completely condemns. The Bible completely condemns.
What was happening right now? I feel like I'm listening to group therapy. Yeah, I agree.
Sorry, you guys want to reset the room then?
No, I'm not dying later.
I'm just.
Yeah, we're just checking on each other. We're here
anyways, I came in, I saw the title, and so I'm a bit confused because I've been dedicating the last few days into looking into Iran, right? And so I made a list, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong. There are people who are royalists. Okay, Daniel. Okay. So there's a group that are royalists, right? And they like this guy named Pahlavi. Yeah. So there's that group. Yes, and I watched the interview with him. It was in Farsi, but I seen people translating it, and he said that he's okay with having a constitutional monarchy. It doesn't have to be hereditary, and he seems like a nice guy. But then when you go online, you get Iranians that hate him, and then you have Iranians who are sorry, what's it called? Anyways, there's so many. Yeah, like there's some. I know that Iranians are Shiite, but a lot of like other Muslims are starting to like Iran now because they're fighting against Israel, so they're winning brownie points when most of those Sunnis never liked them. So it's strange how that's happening. But so what do you guys think will happen?
It's just the people, the Christians, that hate the Jews, and they dislike the Muslims as well, but now they're supporting Palestinians, and it's simply because the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And so
it's so weird.
It's like they all share a disdain towards the Jews, and that's what matters the most to them.
Yeah, like Jews, unfortunately, hating Jews has become a unifying force. It sucks for Jews, but like for Khomeini to be like put on a pedestal by these Sunnis, it's so shocking to me to see. But what I wanted to know is like, what do the Iranian people want then? Do they want Pahlavi to go, or it's just, like I just want what's best for their country, but it's hard to understand because they have so many divisions. Like Pahlavi looks like a nice guy, but I don't know.
Nice then.
Seems like a really nice guy with a nice family, yeah, that cares for Iran, yeah. But yeah, who knows, right?
He's a great guy.
Samia wants to pull Islam into the topic of Middle East. Yeah, I brought it in.
Well,
Sorry.
Samia is Muslim, so she can do that.
Yeah, I brought Islam into the Middle East. Sorry, my apologies.
The Muslim women weren't supposed to talk. Is
I
that
know.
real?
Yeah. Is there Sharia on Clubhouse too? I'm not supposed to talk.
I'm just asking.
That's fucked up.
Well, I mean, it's your religion, not mine.
Did you see actually in the UK that they're really now pushing against the Sharia, not law because it has not been codified into law yet, but all these Sharia rules that they're trying to implement on citizens that are criticizing Muhammad or the Muslims or all of this stuff. Like, it's amazing.
We just had somebody sentenced in jail, I can't remember how long, a few years, for burning the Quran, but they didn't specifically state it. They said that the actions of this person posed a worrying issue for, sorry, don't quote me, but basically this person, because they burnt the Quran and they've been sentenced, this is the first blasphemy case.
Oh yeah, they created a law, an anti-blasphemy law or something like that, right?
Yeah, against Islam. You can do what you want with any other religion, but if it's Islam,
Well, you can't do shit about the Jews here. In the U.S. at least.
Yeah, but it's not illegal, honey.
Well, no, I mean, I think it is in some states. I don't think you should be making fun of people's religion.
You think it is in some states?
It's not, dude.
Okay.
I mean, killing Jews is illegal, but criticizing them, everybody does.
Obviously.
You can actually stop them from going to class, make like mass protests, call for their death, but you think it's illegal in some states. That's fine.
I mean, they're trying to pass laws that I'll look into.
You look into it. How much you want to make a wager? There's no law that says in any state of the United States that says that it's illegal to make fun of Jews.
I've got $100. I didn't say that make fun of them.
Okay, so restate your statement.
Let me think about it for a second.
And
That's a good idea.
Also, it's not, I mean, what's happening in the universities is not critique of the Jews. What's happening in the universities is like they're preventing kids to go to class, and they are threatening them, and they are taking possession buildings and they don't let them in, and that is not.
I don't think there should be talking shit about people's religion on college campus. I'm not. I don't think that's a good thing. Jews, Muslims, doesn't matter.
It might not be a good thing, but it's fully legal.
Well, in the UK we have hate crime. So there is
the UK is a failed state. It's not interesting.
Oh, I don't give a shit what you think, dude. Yeah. But we have... There's a line which you cross, yeah, which it becomes from, you go, A, big nose, right, to a hate crime beyond that, which is then a criminal offence. What that line is, I don't really know, you know. So.
Do you agree with the hate crimes?
No,
I hate it.
I don't agree with anything. I don't agree with anything that's criminal.
I mean, a crime is a crime. It doesn't matter if it was motivated by hate or by love. I mean, there are a lot of love crimes, right? And they don't make it.
Yeah, we all hate crimes.
No, they actually.
What's a love crime?
A love crime is the one that is like, I'm gonna kill her because I love her so much. I don't want anybody else.
Yeah, that's called a crime of passion.
Yeah, well. But, no, I mean, the UK is a failed state. I mean, you barely even have property rights at this point, let alone free speech.
Can you name one state? Hold on. Can you name one state in the whole world that is not a failed state?
Hey, was that dude got the same name as me? Yeah.
And Iran, the state of Iran.
Oh yeah. So we got Seaman and Simon. So Seaman, can you name one state in the world that is not a failed state?
Well, I mean, considering that the UK was like the source of like one of the
countries that
enlightenment. Why? Let me just give context to what I'm saying.
Because every state is a failed state according to your.
Yeah, but I'm talking about where the enlightenment happened.
Don't pick on the UK.
According to your religion, every state is a failed state.
No, it's not. He blames it on it.
I don't blame it on
No, but
religion.
according to Simon's religion, every state is a failed state.
I don't blame it on religion.
You literally said that all religion is having a negative impact.
Simon, if every country is a failed state and you're the common denominator,
okay, well,
you're the failed.
If you want to always start the Enlightenment period and we're trending the other way and you're blaming, like, what else?
There's a lot of
years. I feel like we've talked about this a lot.
There's a lot of negative philosophies that have also impacted the West. It's not just religion.
Anyway, have you been able to rethink your question, Luke? Oh, sorry, Simon.
You'd be better off having a monarchy. I mean, look at your head of state. What an embarrassment that is.
Well, there you go. You see? That's why the UK is a failed state.
No,
who are you talking about? The US or France?
Yeah, well, no, the US. I mean, come on.
There you go. The US is a failed state.
Because monarchy worked out.
And he's coming from the UK. Oh my God! Like that's what I'm saying. We're listening to a British guy talk about the U.S. being failed. Like that's a joke.
No, I think he's right. Because monarchy historically has worked out phenomenally. I think we should go back to it.
We've got a constitutional monarchy. It's working very well, and you've got.
Charles is a Muslim.
You've got a knobhead, yeah, as a president and head of state.
What is here? Like this is such a bad.
I'm surprised you guys can even speak freely at this point. Like.
But what does monarchy have to do with that?
Oh, there's someone banging on my door. I said something I shouldn't have said. Oh, I'm going to be arrested. Oh my God.
See, the funny thing about what you just said is I know you're being facetious, but the reality is that actually happened.
Lucy Connolly, Simon.
So, I mean, what'd you say, Sarah?
Lucy Connolly, who's in prison for 2 years.
Oh, yeah.
Come on.
Sarah, are you in the UK?
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that. Of course it's a failed state.
Is this the Sarah that used to be in these rooms and had a baby? Is it you?
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen you in months. How's the baby?
Yeah, she's good, babe.
Gotta see the baby.
I don't share pictures online. Sorry.
No, I mean, it's a Seinfeld joke. I don't actually.
Oh.
Congratulations.
Joke, baby.
Gotta see the baby. But yeah, okay.
We don't have any freedom of speech.
You guys barely have property rights. Your police don't even have proper equipment to defend themselves, let alone protect its citizens. I mean, what are we even talking about?
How's the
Where is this?
America?
How are the stabbing? How are the stabbing rates in the UK?
Less from the gun deaths.
No, that's actually false. That's actually false.
No, it's not false.
Yeah, it is false. So it's something like out of all the gun-related deaths in America, it's like less than 30% of them are actually homicides.
Okay, so what you're saying
Okay,
is
Simon, how about you look up British Simon? How about you look up the stats right now? Tell us how many murders are there in the UK per 100,000 civilians, and how many are there in the United States? Let's compare numbers.
I mean, the Brits have the least
There's a reason that they lost the war.
They're very safe if you're looking at gun deaths alone.
Right, but that's a stupid metric. What the question is...
Exactly, that's what I want.
Okay. Because taking away from civilians is another thing that has worked out really great. So far, your idea was to take away the guns from the civilians and institute a monarchy. Like you were selling me so far.
Well, hey, look, there was a degree of sarcasm and dark humour in that suggestion, right? However, I don't think, the Second Amendment, is it the Second Amendment that says, right, we're all, come on. That was in 1750, whatever, when you had single musket.
Are you saying 1787?
Yeah, whatever.
Okay.
So am I looking at murder per 100,000 by country?
I didn't even, was that even an argument? Come on, it was in 17 whatever.
I don't know.
Well, we need a ban of belt knives.
It was a bad day for us, so I try and put it to one side. Yeah, but you're looking good with your head.
The Second Amendment was written a decade after your bad day.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
It was a bad day for monarchy. It was a good day for humanity. You're welcome, by the way.
People get the wrong idea with that. I mean, I live in Arizona. You can walk it like everybody's walking around with guns. It's not as dangerous as people. Yeah, it's like, especially when it's like understood that people are armed. It's actually tends to be less.
Yeah, the unsafe states are the ones where it's like the gun crimes are.
I mean, we know, but
not gun crimes.
I'm kidding.
But yeah, no. I mean, it's just where the
where gun laws are the strictest is where there's the most crime. Go into the inner cities where the strictest gun laws, and you'll find the most crimes.
100%.
Basically, leftist states and leftist cities. I mean, but like, just in principle alone, like, I mean, this is not even debatable. I mean, you just basically don't have freedoms. Like, everybody's just a cuck to the government in the UK.
What? Are you living here?
I live in my shithole country. We're literally about to get a guy arrested for proving him wrong.
Don't be ridiculous.
Are you on that extent?
Good luck, my guy.
Right, okay. Can I just say, I've just Googled what you want me to do, which is intentional homicide counts per
This
100
fucking
pounds.
idiot. Who are you anyway?
Oh, so
Someone just wrote in the chat, can you deny the Holocaust was real? Oh my god.
It was a British guy that did try to deny it.
I'll stop talking, but I just want to address the challenge, which was...
לא.
מה, אתה מכיר את הדבר כזה?
איך? סטרדיווריוס? יש לנו סטרדיווריוס, אבל...
יש בארץ, אני לא יודע, אני כבר מיליון שנה לא בישראל.
יש.
דן, מה זה המשחק הזה?
איזה משחק?
מה אתם מנחשים?
אני צריך לנחש את שלוש חנויות בגדים שחנה הכי אוהבת. אם אני מצליח, היא מעבירה לי 100 שקל בבית. אם אני לא מצליח, אני מעביר לה 20.
מה מתערבים שעל הראשון אני מצליחה?
ואם את לא מצליחה, את מעבירה לכל אחד 50 שקל?
אבל זה מוכר, נכון חנה?
כן, סתם, אין לי.
יש לך.
אז יש לך? לא.
לא?
ממש לא. לא. אני לא יודעת.
תעבירי לכל אחד 50 שקל.
בזרה אני קונה רק בייסיק. למה את קונה משהו מיוחד ואז כולם עם זה.
אני קונה רק חולצות טישרט שחור, אפור, לבן, כאלה...
בייסיק.
כן.
מתאים לך לקנות במנגו.
גם לא. זין עליהם.
אני אהבתי, יש חנות ארטה בירושלים שנקראת טופ... לא טופ, לא, של בגדים.
אני אוהבת מאסימו דיוטי.
טופ שופ.
מה טופ טן? תחליטים.
מאסימו דיוטי מוכרים נעליים יקרות כזה לבנות וכל מיני כאלה, לא?
גם בגדים, כן. מהקבוצה של זהר. מאסימו דיוטי. מאסימו דיוטי.
קניתי שם פעם נעליים, נראה לי.
כן, זה כאילו באיזה חנות
אני אוהבת את ה-24/7. בעיות הכי רגילות, אבל הן מתוקות.
את מוצאת משם משהו? זה של...
כן, אני מוצאת בטח. אני אוהבת. שם בטופ שופ, אבל טופ שופ יש רק כאילו שוב שאני הייתי בתקווה ובחיפה.
מה עם זה? פוקס קידס.
לא אוהבת את פוקס בכלל.
עדיין קיים TNT?
לא, מה פתאום, כן ולא, זוכר? כן ולא.
כן ולא.
אני קונה בכלל.
לא, וואי, מוכר לי.
כן ולא, נו.
אני קונה פירות.
איפה?
את זה אין לנו.
רוס. קוראים לחנות רוס.
מארצות הברית,
רסטורלס.
בדיוק. מחירים שלהם חבל על הזמן. אני פשוט אוהבת לקנות הרבה בכלום כסף.
אז אני אגיד לך מה את אוהבת. את אוהבת פוקס תמנון?
לא, בכלל לא. לא. לא.
ישראלי נראה לי בקפריס.
אורבניקה?
כבר לא.
למה?
בואי נראה כנחשים מה אני אוהב, איזה מותג אני אוהב.
אתה אוהב מנג'ין.
סוכה כרמל.
לא, הוא אוהב... איך קוראים לזה, נו, של המטיילים, של המטפסים. לא, נו. קולומביה וכאלה.
קולומביה טובים.
זה המותג השני. לא, מה המותג הראשון שאני...
נו, אני יודעת, זה דומה לקולומביה. איך זה נקרא? נו, זה לא היה ברס.
לא, לא
נורפורס.
נורפורס קולומביה זה... נורפורס זה קולומביה, מבחינתי זה אותו מותג, אבל אני מדבר על מה הראשון שאני אוהב.
מה הלוגו?
טימברלנד.
לא, זה נעליים אבל.
רגע, אבל אנחנו מדברים על בגדים, נכון?
טימברלנד זה לא נעליים, זה גם בגדים.
אצלנו זה נעליים.
לא, טימברלנד זה גם בגדים. צודקת נכון, יש לנו בגדים כאן. אבל לא, זה לא...
כן.
קיצור נייקי, המאפנים.
מה? קשור.
קשור, יש להם את הבגדים הכי טובים בעולם.
אני יש לי את הטקסטים של נייק, את הקפוצ'ונים והנכנסי טרנינג שלהם.
כן, זה
אני נמצא בצד. אחי, יש לי...
אני אוהבת אדידס.
איזה 40...
אני גם אוהבת.
לא רק, אני מת על אדידס.
אני גם
מעדיפה את
אדידס, תמיד מזכיר את הרוסים האלה מהראש פיתוח. מהמכסיים, מהפסים
אני ואדידס, כל הנעליים הכי הזויות, כל הצבעוני המוזר הזה.
לי יש נעליים של סטלה מקארטני עם אדידס, ואם תראו את התמונה של זה, תבינו מה הסטייל שלי, מה אני אוהבת.
בוא נראה.
אני משהו מיוחד.
אין לי כוח שלך לי.
המותג היחיד שיש אולי נעליים.
נשמע לך לקום להרים מזוודה מלאה בבוקר.
מזעזע.
היא פשוט לא רוצה לחטוף בפניך.
אני אוהבת גם קרוקס על זה.
קרוקס? וואי, זה מזעזע.
קרוקס על זה גדול, נו.
קרוקס זה טרנינג, אדידס.
אבל יש לי את הסטלה.
חנה, כמה שנים את בקרוקס?
אבל לא קרוקס הרגיל, אני לא הולכת כמו איזה...
לא, יש את החנות של קרוקס, יש להם דברים יפים, אבל אני לא הייתי הולכת עם זה.
את הולכת שוטף שקלים במטבח של מסעדה?
לא,
יש את הקרוקס על הפלטפורמה.
אבל רגע, בקרוקס שם אני קדימה את הסיכות האלה?
כן.
יאו, אני קניתי כזה של פיס וסתם את הפה.
הנה זה.
יש לך חג?
לא, יש להם נעליים יפות, אלה של פלטפורמה, כמו לסנדלים, אבל אני לא הייתי הולכת עם זה, כי זה לא נוח.
יו, אני בהלם שניחשתי.
מה
יש דלת בית של אג.
אם יש לה אג. איזה מושפעת.
אבל אני לא לבקשת את המחורת דווקא, זה לא יודעת, לא אוהבת.
האמת, אני בקושי נולדת נעליים. אני אני מה זה ההיריון שלי עד עכשיו עם ריף. כאילו אני לא יכולה להוריד אותה מהרגל, כאילו נדבקו לי לרגל.
מי זה?
זה נעלה, שלי זה נעלה אצבע של ריף. וואי, יש להם נעליים כאילו נוחות בצורה מפחידה. אבל מאז שהייתי בהיריון קניתי, אני לא יכולה להיפרד מהם. ואני קונה מלא נעליים, לא מסוגלת. רק אותם.
רק אני חננה עם טבע נאות. הכי נוח.
הכי נוח.
אבל בלי זונות, זה הרבה יקר. 300 שקל.
גם יקר, ברור.
300 שקל באילת, שתביני.
כן, זה יקר, אבל זה נוח, מה?
לא יודעת, רוצה לי לקנות
לא, טבע נאות.
פשוט פה זה טרנד.
$30 פה באמריקה.
כל הקיבוצניקים שמים את זה.
יש עוד איזה חנות.
זה נעליים של קוקסינלים.
כן.
אנחנו קוקסינלים.
מי אלה?
שכחתי את השם, יש עוד איזה חנות, גם הייתי קונה בה באילת דווקא. של נעליים.
To go.
לא, ממש לא.
נעלה גלי.
יש את זה בכלל, את הטוגו הזה?
יש, כן. אני יודעת מה. מה שאמרתי לך. סקופ.
לא. לא סקופ.
אני אוהב גם את אופנת הגלגל. 3 ב-100, 4 ב-100.
לא זה אופנת הגלגל. מה זה? אתה צוחק?
לא, נו, זה גלגל שיש עליו עם המקצעים.
אני עכשיו...
5 ב-100. 4 ב-100.
אני אגיד, באינטרנט אני לא אוהבת לקנות נעליים, אבל עכשיו קניתי איזשהו... זה נעל כאילו שהיא שתי רצועות שהן שקופות, זה שלו, זה כאילו פלטפורמה שהיא מין פס כזה מבז', משהו ממש יפה, וממש ממש נוחות, ממש נוחות. זה פעם ראשונה שאני ממש נהנית מנעליים שקניתי באינטרנט.
אני את כל המגפי מוכרים שלי קונה באמזון וזה אחלה.
אבל אני קורא שאתה לא קונה את המגפיים שאמזון בייסיק פרודקט.
טראמפ אמר, נתניהו מקבל יחד. תקשיבו. טראמפ אמר, נתניהו מקבל יחס לא הוגן מהמדינה שלו, כל המחאות נגדו מביישות.
אבל טראמפ שונא את ביבי! מה יגיד לפיד על זה עכשיו?
כן, ראיתם מה שהוא אמר? אתה איבדת את טראמפ?
כן. טראמפ לקח אותה כמו ארנב מסונבר לחדר.
ראיתם שמד"א ופיקוד העורף התאחדו?
באמת? זה לא נשמע אמיתי.
מד"א פאקר. מד"א ופיקוד העורף. איזה אבלים?
תיקוי שזה יקרה בעולם.
לא, זה בצחוק, זה עכשיו.
אני הייתי באיחוד הצלה. הייתי מעריק.
גם אני הייתי, פרשתי.
מאור.
פרישה מוקדמת.
כי היה לנו רק ערבים מטופלים.
מה ג'יילו?
I wrote to Clubhouse for you to ask them how to get rid of your stupid 18 plus profile picture.
Okay,
I don't know, they didn't answer me yet, I just wrote to them.
I also asked. I also report my picture. Myself.
They didn't answer you?
No. It's a violent sexual abuse picture.
You recorded yourself, I'm gonna clip you.
אתם רואים יותר מטומטם?
It reminds me of when somebody
I report myself.
and they said, "Hi, officer," and they said, "What's your problem?" And the guy said, "I'm a drug dealer and I just got robbed." The police said, "Okay, we'll be right over."
No, there is actually a video about from Bedcaps about someone that complaining that she got robbed from her drugs. So the officer literally asked her, "Are you out of your fucking mind? You telling me that somebody robbed you out of your drugs?"
People are that smart.
יש לי סיפור. חלק שמעו את זה בטח. יש מהסטרייל. של השכן